I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. I was always welcomed by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, Angel Ortega, future Jiu-Jitsu world champion. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this big boys. UFC 297 fight week ongoing. Sean Strickland might stab a man, but hopefully the main event will go on. We got a bunch of news as always. Two fantastic sponsors of the show to go ahead and quickly mention: Rogue Energy and ELYXR. Rogue Energy gets me the finish line no matter whether I'm at home, whether I'm at the gym, they get me there. And, or whether I'm cleaning off my fucking car because I live in Kansas and it won't stop snowing. So yeah, they help me out there. ELYXR though, whenever I want to chill out, have a nice night, maybe play some Baldur's Gate, I'm going to take an ELYXR Delta 8 and you can get 10% off of them with code SOUNDOFF at checkout. Code SOUNDOFF at checkout for both Rogue Energy and ELYXR.com. Look, Angel, before we go ahead and break into UFC 297, we got UFC Vegas 84 to go over, once again going down to the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. In the main event, ranked light heavyweights, man, Magomed Ankalaev scoring a second-round knockout win over Johnny Walker, just annihilating his nose with the uppercut on the mat, man. Admittedly, this is kind of the fight I feel like most people were looking for out of Magomed Ankalaev. He's had a couple of weird ones lately. He gets the knockout win, pretty damn dominant. What did you make of it?
I mean, this is kind of what we both expected. I don't think there was much shock here. Rough one for Johnny Walker, obviously. Dude, it was brutal, right? Like that follow-up shot on the ground was rough. I was like, damn, that had a little what's the word for it? A little something behind it, a little vigor. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, he had a little something on that. He took out the anger of like 2 years out on Johnny Walker's fucking nose on Saturday night, man. I mean, that was what we were looking for in terms of a dominant win. Afterwards, he called out Alex Bahia. I think he's not going to get that fight. Definitely not next. I feel like Jamal Hill. From what we've heard now, we've gotten a little bit more clarity from like his manager, over the last week or two. He said that Jamal's going to be back in the springtime, so maybe Bahia, Jamal Hill, UFC 300. I think that's more than likely going to happen. Bit of a shame for Magomed Ankalaev. It'll have to wait. But do you think a Bahia fight will be next for him, or do you think you want to see him potentially fight another contender in the meantime?
I think it's just dependent. Like if Jamal Hill is ready to go by the time the UFC wants or needs Alex Bahia to fight, then you have Magomed Ankalaev there as an option. If not, it'll be Jamal Hill. Like, I mean, basically what you explained. I think it's just dependent how things kind of work out, and by the timeline that Jamal Hill is ready, he's back. It's going to be a combination of Jamal Hill's return and then when the UFC wants or needs Bahia to fight. If they need someone to be, the headline for a main event. Especially now that Bahia's, he's kind of a star in the UFC right now, right? He's not a superstar, right? Like this is something we brought up in the past. Where we talked about the UFC, we kind of use the NBA comparison where you have like, you have stars and then you have superstars. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you got all stars. But regardless, though, you know what I mean, though. There's all these kind of little tiers, and he's kind of getting up there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not wrong. He is getting up there, and he's becoming a massive star, man. And the ease at which he's done it too is just crazy. But I don't know, man. In terms of Magomed Ankalaev, I still think he's a future champion. I still think he's a guy that when he puts his skill set together, he's going to be very tough for anybody to beat. At that same time, though, man, Alex Bahia is a monster, and I'm really excited to see that Jamal Hill fight coming up. But admittedly, coming out of this fight, I don't have a whole lot to really say about it. Solid one, wasn't that surprised. I do want to talk about that co-main event, though, man, because we got a little bit more clarity about Jim Miller and his future. In the co-main event, Jim Miller, Gabriel Benitez is putting on a show, man, back and forth for a fair bit. In the end, Jim Miller just takes over near the down the stretch. Those body shots played massive dividends throughout. In the end, he ends up getting a submission win in the third face crank. Angel, Jim Miller, 5 wins in his last 6. The one loss was a short notice one against Alexander Hernandez, and now he's called for UFC 300. And I'm kind of spoiling it here. I'm supposed to talk about it later, but Jim Miller, Bobby Green at UFC 300. That fight is now official. What did you make about Jim Miller, A10, getting the win? Not drawing Brock Lesnar for UFC 300, but what do you think, man?
It's disappointing, right? Disappointing. No, I mean, look, they threw me for a loop. I did not expect Bobby Green. I think Bobby Green I think it's good. I think it's great. I thought we were gonna maybe go Matt Brown. Maybe they could have pulled Joe Lozon somehow, but definitely did not think they were gonna go the Bobby Green route. But I think good for Bobby and good for Jim Miller. Good for both those guys. Honestly, it's a dub for both these guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, same page here. And also Jim Miller, I know some people want to see Matt Brown, some people want to see Paul Felder, and, same too. I really think Paul Felder should come back for one. At the same time, I also kind of want him to stop waffling on if he's going to come back for one or not. You know what I mean? Like, just do it or don't, man. But,
I know, dude. He's fucking honeydicking us, dude.
He loves honeydicking us. And I'm not sure if he actually is meaning to or if he's not, but I don't know. Since the second Paul Felder's retired, he's been talking about coming back. He even entered the USADA pool. He said he was going to fight at UFC 300 in a media day, not at media day, at the post-fight press conference, and they asked him about it. I was like, I don't know. It's like, man, you got to make up your mind, bro. So that's probably why he lost out on the fight. But yeah, Jim Miller, he deserves a ranked opponent. I think that fight is great. I saw some people were like, Jim, he deserves more of a veteran his age. It's like, man, do you know how long Bobby Green's been around, brother?
Right?
Bobby Green's an OG of the game. He's around the same age. It's perfect matchmaking. In UFC 300, man, we wanted to see Jim Miller have it. I was pretty worried. I don't know why they booked this fight so close to UFC 300, but in the end, it worked out. So excited to see that one. As far as the rest of this card goes, man, what are some of these fights from UFC Vegas 84 that you really want to talk about?
Dude, we talked about him in the pre-show, funny enough. Not in the pre-show. We did talk about it in the pre-show. We talked about it in the pre-show and in the green room. Joshua Van, Josh. I mean, from the moment he arrived into the UFC, coming in on short notice, breaking my heart, beating Zaliyaz Magulov, he's just looked good. He's so young and he looks this fucking good already. I mean, I might be early, but I want to believe that at one point in time we'll see this kid fight for a title.
Mm-hmm.
Being, 20 years old? 21? Insanely young and looking this good. And obviously he had some adversity in this one. He had to work through some stuff and get the victory. But in the end, he got his hand raised. And if he continues down this path, Josh, I mean, the sky's the limit with him. Especially the division that's full of young 125ers, Tatsu Ataira, Muhammad Makayev, and now Joshua Van, and, more on the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing about flyweight is, man, and I've said this for a while, of the divisions, maybe lightweight has the bigger stars, right? Maybe light heavyweight. They got some contenders. We should talk about Magomed Ankalaev, Jamal Hill, all that stuff, right? But dude, flyweight, there's something going on at flyweight, man. I don't know what it is, but dude, there's some fucking dogs, and they're all young too. Joshua Van, he's 22 years old. Just turned 22 2 months ago as well. 3 wins in the UFC, and that kid is the fucking future. But he's not the only one, man. I mean, we got our boy, undefeated one. Obviously, I can't, I don't know, his name's literally slipping me right now, but we talk about him literally all the time. Muhammad Makayev. An absolute dog. Another young guy, Tatsuro Tara, another guy. Very young, around 21, 22. Another young dog, dude. So, yeah, man, just flyweight is popping right now. Joshua Van is the fucking future. And he's a guy at flyweight, too, that has some rare power, too, which is one of the more fun parts about it. So love to see that. In terms of the rest of UFC Vegas 84, Weston Wilson, I hate to say this, but I said this on Twitter, and I even said this before his last UFC fight, and right after he got signed, might be the worst, least qualified fighter to come to the UFC in some time. And that showed. I mean, he got absolutely battered by Jean Silva in their fight on Saturday. Lost in the first round. So that was tough to see. That was very tough to see, man.
Oh, come on, Josh. You didn't do that bad.
No, he got his ass kicked, man. I mean, this guy. Fuck, man. I don't like to shit on fighters, but I mean, I said, man, he's not qualified to be in the UFC. That's just being nice about it. Marcus McGee, dude, that somebody who is qualified to be in the UFC, that motherfucker is the real deal Holyfield, man. The maniac got the short notice fight, I believe, last year. Now he's 3-0 in the UFC. All wins coming by way of finish. Now, granted, competition's not that great. Journey Newsom, JP Buys, RIP, rest in peace. Gaston Bolaños, who we beat on Saturday. None of those guys are very UFC caliber, but he's getting rid of them in the fashion that you would expect a guy who is for real to do, you know? If that makes any sense. Yeah, man. Bruno Fajea picking up a knockout winner. Phil Haas. Phil Haas' brain is like, fuck this shit at this point. Mario Bautista picking up a winner.
Josh, you broke down crying in the octagon, you asshole.
It was brutal. It was brutal, dude. It was actually brutal, you know?
You wanted to give the man a hug, dude. That's how fat you felt.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to come to his aid, you know? Poor guy, man. You know who's a poor guy? Andrei Arlovski. The pit bull, days out from his 45th birthday, lost his third fight in a row. What'd you make about Waldo Cortez Acosta mocking Arlovski in that fight?
Part of the game, man. It sucks. I mean, I know Arlovski's a legend, but I mean, part of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I thought it was some bitch shit, cause, you know, come on, you are the guy going to a decision with a 45-year-old Andrei Arlovski. It's a bad look. I'll put it like that.
Arlovski's a dog, though, bro.
Arlovski's a dog, but he's about 45 years old and got knocked out by Don'Tale Mays. So it's like,
I'd love to see you do better against Andrei Arlovski, Josh.
You're right. I could not do better against Andrei Arlovski. I'm not a fighter, though. I'm not the one mocking him and being like, oh, you fucking suck, dude. You know, like, it's like, dude, you also kind of suck, you know? Like, it's just funny. It's just funny, that's all.
Do we know what he was actually saying? Do we have an official quote by any chance?
I haven't seen anything. I have not seen anything. But he was mocking him throughout it, you know? And then after the fight was over. And that's what I didn't like. Was mocking him after the fight was over. I think it's all fair and, you know, during the fight, but, you know, mocking a legend like that near the end, I just didn't like that, you know. But that's just who I am, you know. Same time, still a good win for him, moves to 11-1. As far as this UFC Vegas 84 card goes, man, any closing thoughts on it before we go ahead and move on?
No, man, it felt kind of nice getting back to routine. It wasn't necessarily the best card, but it definitely wasn't a bad card either. I think it got me through this week to get to the pay-per-view, which, look, the pay-per-view in and of itself as a whole isn't fully strong, but I think there's plenty of fights that I'm looking forward to. There's a lot of fights that I'm looking forward to, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be, man, it was a solid card for the first card of the year. It wasn't anything too crazy, but it was nice. But it's nothing compared to UFC 297 going down this Saturday night from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I said it at the top of the pod, man. Sean Strickland said he would stab Dricus du Plessis if he talked about his father during fight week. So we'll see if the fight is happening by the time this podcast comes out on Friday night. But as of now, man, currently set to go ahead. We know the stakes here, man. Sean Strickland won the title in September with an all-time performance against Israel Adesanya. Dricus du Plessis still knocks, the real South African fighter. Defeated Robert Whittaker back in July in a middleweight title eliminator to earn this title opportunity. Look, man, two guys on the rise. I don't think, you know, if he would have gone back and said, you know, 2 years ago, or even just last January, he would have told me, hey, Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis are going to fight for the UFC title. I thought you were fucking crazy. But yeah, here we are, man. What do you think of this matchup? 5 rounds for the middleweight gold.
I'm excited, man. I can see passive victory for both guys. This fight will be very telling for Dricus, very telling for Sean as far as I think how his championship tenure will go to an extent. You know, a while back, and I mean, I'll admit it on the show, I said I think that Sean, at best, in this division has one title defense. Who that one title defense will be, though, we'll find out. Is it going to be Dricus or is it going to not? In this fight, I think as far as Dricus, you know, who's the challenger, you know, we got to talk about him plenty bit. We're going to see. Is the cardio, was it the nose? Is the cardio finally fixed? Is he going to be able to go 5 rounds? Because we know Sean's going to be there all 5 rounds. We don't know for a fact if Sean, or if Dricus will be. That's a big question in the air. Mm-hmm. If I think for Sean Strickland to be like, how is Sean going to do now that he's the champ? Is he going to be able to rise to the moment? Is he going to be able to deal with this pressure? Because he might have been able to do it that first time, but how's it going to be the second time when he's the one holding the title and he has this guy who's hungry and is in a way him now, wanting to take that away. He's going to be in that position, and that's a whole another different level of pressure rather than being the challenger. Because look, Sean Strickland could have gone in there with Izzy and lost, and it would have been perfectly fine. But Sean Strickland going in there now as a champion and losing is going to be way different than before. It's a different playing field now. Everybody's gunning for him. Everybody's studying him. Everybody's trying to figure out what his weaknesses are. Now, any little mistake that Sean can possibly create, everything will be exposed if there is any to expose. Look, I've been back and forth this all week. Like I said, I think there's a path to victory to Sean Strickland, which is lots of pressure, using his stand up, using his shoulder roll, and getting on Dricus, keeping Dricus on the back foot, and when he has the opportunity to sit on his punches and let Dricus know that he does have, maybe he doesn't have that power that Dricus has, but if he sits down on his punches, he's capable of rattling him a bit. Mm-hmm. For Dricus, I mean, for him, I think let's see the conditioning. Is it there? And on top of that, are you going to try to stand up with Sean, or are you going to use a lot of, are you trying to use this ground game? Because I'll say it here and I'll say it openly. Dricus is a weight bully, man. It's no secret. I remember back in KSW, Richard Solidich, who is now signed to ONE, talked about this. He said that when he fought Dricus initially, he knew that Dricus was strong, he was powerful, and for that first fight, Roberto said that he actually decided to put on a little extra weight. If he put on some extra muscle, he would need it. And ended up being his downfall in that fight. And then the second time around, when he came back to fight Dricus, he got rid of some of that muscle, came in a little lighter, and it ended up working for him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's that too. But Josh, I'll be giving you my pick now. I think I've said enough. I'm picking the real African champion, Josh. Dricus du Plessis. I think he gets it done. And new.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I've been very back and forth in this fight. I could see how you can pick Still Knox to get it done, man. For me, I still have a lot of negative, not really negative, but a lot of questions about Dricus du Plessis, man. I mean, he's a guy that obviously he beat Whitaker. He's beaten some older dogs in Derek Brunson, right? I feel like this is honestly, it's going to sound weird. I feel like this is his first real test where we're going to get to see a lot of Dricus du Plessis. It's going to sound, I know that sounds a little bit weird because you've seen him have fights going to the third round and so on and so forth. But man, this is 5 rounds, first 5-rounder, first main event, you know what I mean? So on and so forth. And I got to be honest, man, I was never a guy who thought Sean Strickland was going to make it to the summit, the top. I never thought he was going to make it to championship glory. But now that he's here, I think if there's one guy he can beat for that one title defense, like you said, I think it's going to be Dricus du Plessis, man. I think you have a guy who is getting winded in 2-round fights. And yes, I know he got his nose surgery. Don't worry. But I find it very hard to believe that it was just his nose that was making him gas out horrifically after 2 rounds. And everybody said that, oh, we got it fixed. He looked like a new man out there, It's like, but even then, that Whitaker fight got finished at the start of the second round, man. Sean has an incredible chin. He has the ability to go for 5. And I also think he's going to be very defensively competent. I think this fight could head to the mat. I think it'd be interesting to see what Dricus does there. I think D1 Dricus will show up on Saturday. Who knows?
We won't need D1 Dricus, Josh, because we'll have 100% oxygen intake.
You're right. I don't know why I didn't think about that. Fuck, dude. I shouldn't be doubting his nose and his oxygen intake. Jokes aside, I think Strickland's going to get it done. I could see him getting a late finish or winning by decision. I think he's going to be very defensively competent. I think Dricus is going to have to be. I don't know, man. I'm very puzzled why why so many people are riding with him. Honestly, can you give me your reasoning for riding with Dricus this weekend?
Dude, it's something that I've kind of gone back and forth on too myself, but it's like, it's the fact that he's been there every single time, and people have doubted him, called them bad. Some of the fights have looked rough, but even then, he still finds a way to make it through somehow. He has power. I mean, that's another thing. He has power. He can definitely sit on his punches and cause some damage. That's the other thing too. It's not like Sean has an uncrackable chin. You know, he does have a good chin, but he's been knocked out before, and I think it could happen again.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know, man. I just don't think he's going to be able to land the big. Here's the way I look at it. I don't think very different fighters, right? Dricus comes forward. He's a brawling brute. He goes in there and he fucking.
I actually don't think Sean would be let to dictate the fight like he did in the Izzy fight, which is the other big thing to me. I think Sean. I mean, if Sean is able to thrive in his environment or is allowed to be in his environment, he will thrive. Yeah. On top of that, too, something we haven't brought up, but one of Sean Strickland's worst enemies, potentially in fighting, is and coaches. It's himself. Yeah. Sean, you know, they had a completely different game plan. Granted, it ended up paying off in the end. You know, so no hate there, but. You know, that's something that Eric Nixick talked about. You know, their game plan going to the Izzy fight was not at all what happened on that night. Granted, in the end, it still ended up paying off. It's kind of like, I wonder, you know, is Sean going to stick to the game plan against Dricus? You know, is he even going to even consider that in any capacity? Like, what, you know, like, what's going to happen, you know, when things maybe aren't going his way for once? What is going to happen when he's not dictating how he wants to fight? I think that's another thing. I know Dricus will not allow, I think, and I want to believe this, I don't know this for a fact, I think Dricus won't allow Sean to dictate kind of the fight like Sean did against Izzy.
That's fair. That's fair. I think you make a lot of good points there, man. And I also think one of the bigger things is part of the reason why Sean was able to dictate the fight against Izzy is because of that fucking monster right hand he landed in a right one. And from that point onward, Izzy just couldn't get back into it, man. Like, mentally and physically. But
granted, to play devil's advocate there, too, though, Izzy did rally back in the following round, though.
He did, in round 2 and round 3. I remember I gave him both round 2 and round 3. So, but even then, it just looked he wasn't mentally there. He wasn't able to find the shot. And I don't think, if a guy like Izzy, who's a fucking complete sniper, one of the greatest strikers we've ever seen, I don't think if he can't find the opening across 25 minutes, I don't think Dricus is throwing in there and throwing bombs like Donkey Kong. I don't think he's going to be able to find it. You know what I mean?
Styles make fights, though. Izzy didn't try to go for a double leg or anything. Granted, that's not Izzy's style, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That could potentially open Sean up, you know? Going for single, going for double, going against the cage wrestling. And granted, we haven't really fully seen Sean's wrestling and grappling truly, and I mean truly, since his return from his accident. Because the Sean Strickland that fought before his accident versus the Sean Strickland and now are two completely different guys. His style changed. Now, granted, I don't know if that was because he just wanted to make a stylistic change or if that was because of his accident forced him to fight a different way. You know, that's something that I've heard other people talk about. So it's kind of like, you know, is there something there to that? You know, will we see something there? Will someone finally discover something?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you make a lot of good points. That's largely why I am 50-50 on this fight. Like, I do think that Dricus could absolutely pull it off. 100%. He could catch Sean. You know, if for all I know, he's fucking, like I said, he'll go D1 Dricus out there and just put on a clinic.
100% oxygen intake.
Yeah, and a big part of that just because he's so unknown. Like I said, like he's had some high level fights. There's not a doubt about that. I would never say that, but at the same time, it's like, you know, he went, you know, just over a round with Whitaker. You know, he beat Brunson. That fight was very back and forth for 2 rounds. You know, till another case finished early in the third. Didn't get to see a whole lot beyond him. Just those two just winging shots because every single time he fights a guy, it just turns into a crazy war. You know, like I don't know, man. I think there's still a lot of unknowns at the top level.
But man, at the end of the day, though, he still got it done every time.
That's exactly why it's hard to pick against him. The big thing for me, honestly, is what kind of Sean Strickland is going to show up. I think if he shows up confident, you know,
What is the game plan from both of these guys, right? I think that is like the big question mark, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think if I were Eric Nixick, I would be trying to develop a game plan, putting Dricus on the back foot, instantly putting him back, trying to either force a shot out of him, depending on if he wants to take it to the mat, or even just going to the body a lot, draining that gas tank. I know that we've heard, we only had 8% oxygen intake, which I'm not sure how he's even alive if that's the case, but
yeah, dude, his O2 stats were like 50%, dude.
I know. I mean, it's just like, fuck, dude. I read it because he had 8% was what his coach said. And it's like, I feel like you'd be dead if that were the case. Like, your brain can't survive with that little oxygen. But that's besides the point. I'm not a doctor. But regardless, man, I mean, I think if I were Sean, I'd try and drain on that gas tank, man. I think they probably got a game plan around that idea, just being active, moving forward, trying to make Dricus make mistakes. At the same exact time, I know that's really what Dricus, his camp's going to do too. They're like, hey, go forward, land some big shots on this motherfucker, make him feel your power early, and probably find the right pace for them. Because I don't think Dricus and his team are delusional enough to think that they can get out Sean that easily. You know what I mean?
They're good at game planning.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, they game planned very well for Robert Whittaker. I can't remember what it was, but I think they found out that Robert had been dropped from that specific stance.
Is he himself?
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't even this fight, but in multiple fights that had occurred. And then they were able to recreate that. I think it happened, Wonder Boy, the Izzy fight, and there was another fight too, I think, where I believe it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they definitely have a great game plan, and that's kind of the fun thing, is both these camps are phenomenal. It's just getting their fighters to execute, honestly. I mean, Dricus is a wild man, and Sean is fucking crazy, so...
he's in his own world.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, final predictions, you and I split down the middle on this one, starting off 2024 the right way, baby. Fucking split.
Oh, yeah. I like it, yeah.
But who knows? It may split on this co-main event too, brother. I mean,
I've been back and forth on it, dude.
Yeah, it's the real people's main event. Raquel Pennington, Rocky, riding a 5-fight winning streak in her second title shot, taking on Shitara. Mayra Bueno Silva, riding a 4-fight unbeaten streak. Last submitted Holly Holm in July in a fight that was overturned due to her testing positive for a banned substance. They said fuck it, gave her the title shot anyway. What do you think about this fight, man? I thought Juliana Pena. I'm not a huge fan of the Venezuelan vixen, but I thought she put this fight really well. She said it's Shitara versus a block of wood, and they're basically fighting for an interim title because nobody cares.
By the way, you know who Shitara is?
Who?
Do you know who Shitara is?
No.
It's a character from the Thundercats.
Oh, that makes it even funnier.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I didn't know if you knew.
I did not know. I mean, I knew the name sounded familiar, but my bad then. But what do you make about this one, man? It's definitely a title fight.
I like it. I think it'll end up being a good fight. Like, Mayra Bueno Silva has delivered. I think we have to be honest about that. Like, ever since she's been in the UFC, I think she's done her due. She's come out, given us great fights. Clearly the weight change has been good. Granted, is that because of the weight, or is that because of other reasons? No, just kidding. But,
what are you trying to imply there, Angel? What are you trying to imply?
Nothing. ADHD medicine, man. You know how it be. Regardless, though, Rocky, dude, man, what's crazy? I felt like it had been forever since we'd seen Raquel Pennington. And because it has. We're going on over a year now. It was the Caitlin Vieira fight. I did not know it had been that long. I'm a little sad that it's been that long. Granted, though, look at the state division. She's obviously had, I think she and her partner had a child. I think they're going on their second one too. So obviously that's been, I'm sure that's taken up time, and that's a big part of her life right now, And granted, could that play a factor into the fight, as well? Granted, it could also benefit her, a really big motivator, right? the fucking bro. The fact that it's been that long, because look, that like 3-fight stretch. Actually, let's go for. We can go to the Marion Renault fight. Marion Renault, Penny Kinzad, Mitchell Chase on Aspen Ladd were pretty good. Those were all pretty good, solid performances. Obviously, the Caitlin Vieira one did come with controversy. People thought Caitlin Vieira should have got the nod in that one. But granted, though, I have my issues with Caitlin Vieira personally because I feel like she's a lot better than what she shows. And regardless, I first, Josh, I can't do that. I was rocking Rocky all the way, but the fact that it's been that long, I think I got to change it. I think I got to go Mayra Bueno Silva on this one.
That's fair. That's fair, dude. Makes a lot of sense. Here's where we're gonna split again, man.
Oh man, I'm happy, dude. You know what's funny? This is gonna be my original pick. I switched within the last few days. Just so you know. Yeah,
and what's funny is I've been going back and forth ever since the fight got announced, so I may even switch again by Saturday. And if I do, I'll fucking.
By the way, if Rocky wins, it's a good feel-good moment, right? Because she's on that win streak. She would finally capture that title. She gets to, she finally gets her moment in division after losing. She's literally lost to the best of the division. That is, that's not even, like, going back, Josh, to like way back in the day in Invicta. Leslie Smith, Kat Zingano. Obviously, Jessica Andrade doesn't fight at this weight class, but Jessica Andrade, Holly Holm, Amanda Nunes, and by the way, someone who's returning soon, the Iron Lady, GDR, Jermaine Duran and me.
Oh, yeah.
And Holly Holm. Like, she's literally fallen short to this division's best.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a pretty badass story. And here's the thing about Raquel Pennington, man. Like, this fight, let's just go ahead and call it for what it is. Nobody gives a flying fuck.
I care, Josh.
But even then, where would you say this fight ranks on your most excited? If you were to rank the fights on the card, probably near the bottom, isn't it? It's at least halfway through the middle, and it's a title fight. That's very rare to happen.
But hey, it's just.
And I'm not trying to be mean about it because I like both of these women.
But Josh, that's not because of the fighters though. I think the issue is the state of the 135 division.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's never been worse than it is. I don't know if I've ever seen a division as bad as 135 is right now. Ever.
But look, it has Amanda Nunes is gone. Yeah. And there's a chance for it to build up and become great.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, they'll need they need a generational talent to come through. Because right now you have, like, Nunes is gone. Obviously, Rousey's been gone for years. Holm, Tate, they're out the door. They're moving into that direction. You know what I mean? You have Rocky, who's been a veteran for a long time. Mayra Bueno Silva, who's just kind of on the rise, but she's not a big name either. She's 32.
Look, you got the three Brazilian queens. Let me just say, you got the three Brazilian.
Lay it out for us.
Yeah. Norma Dumont, Caitlin Vieira. Mayra Bueno said, I know Norma Dumont, 145, never die.
I don't know. But, I don't know. She may have to chop something off to make 135, man.
I'm always a victim. but regardless, though, when we're talking about like that talent, though, to kind of get back on track, as far as this around this division, and I threw Norma Dumont in there because we know she can make 135 potentially. Like when we're talking about that younger talent, I mean, it's those three gals. Like, because Josh, when we're looking at this division, some of the other names in here. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's like Julia Vila, Macy Chason, Penny Kinzad. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's Lucy Pudilova,
I mean, I don't even. Yeah.
It is rough pick. Jessica Rose Clark. Who I don't even know if
Chandler.
Well, I don't even know if he's in the UFC.
She is not. She is no longer in the UFC.
I don't know. Like, they need to build up this division. And I think they are trying to. They have signed gals recently like Arena Liskiva, Montserrat Rendon, who else off the top of my head? Melissa Mullins. They're Tanir Lisboa. There is gals that they're bringing in to build up this division. And they don't even have that big of records at the same time, though. That this goes to show how many of these female fighters there are in this division globally. It's in a rough spot, and hopefully the UFC can start, signing some of these gals, giving them opportunities, building them up, and hopefully somehow, some way, curating a star or making a superstar or pulling someone out of somewhere who could potentially bring some life into the division that doesn't have anything in it right now. And look, for as great as Amanda Nunes was, and is still really, because let's be honest, Amanda Nunes could come off her couch right now and fight on this card against either one of these gals and probably put a pretty damn good fucking performance. It's just tough, man. It's tough, and hopefully this division can get to a better place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it really is. It really is, dude. I mean, like I said, I don't know if I've ever seen a division as bad as women's 135 is right now. Even women's 125, even though it was bad, you were able, like, years ago, we're like, okay, at least you had people like Macy Barber who were young. You know what I mean? You had an excuse for that division to be bad because it was so new, too. Women's 135 has been around for over a decade. And, like, you have women who are still fighting. Raquel Pennington was one of the OGs who came in to 135. And she's still fucking fighting. And all of that, she's finally, and it's a cool story because she's made it to the top, but also you're like, damn, dude, there's been no talent come through significantly, like significant talent to come through in the last 10 years. Like, not that much.
I mean, and like we said, the relevant talent is literally on the other side. Mayra Bueno Silva. And Raquel's previous opponent, Caitlin Vieira. Like, if we're talking like super, super relevant for 135, it's those two.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a bad division. But as far as the fight goes, you pick Mayra Bueno Silva. I'm taking Raquel Pennington. I think Rocky, man, I think she's very well-rounded. I think she's not going to get caught in a sub. She's not been submitted in a decade, man. And since her, literally her fifth pro fight against Kat Zingano in Kansas City, in Invicta, on the mat, she's very proficient. On the feet, she's great. She also has the 5-round experience that Mayra Bueno Silva doesn't have. She's been here before. She fought in the title fight against Amanda Nunes. Got the shit kicked out of her, but that's not why. She didn't lose because of her cardio. She's shown that ability to go 5 rounds. Yeah, man, I'm going to go and take Raquel Pennington to get it done and finally become UFC champion. She's had a long journey. And even, dude, like, throughout her win streak, you and I have commented, been like, Raquel Pennington, she'll probably never get there, but, another good win for her. I mean, this is undefeated for 4 years now at this point. 5 wins in a row. 6 of her last 7. I mean, she's looked very, very good. And that Aspen Ladd win back in 273 was a banger of a fight, man. The win over Caitlin Vieira was impressive. I don't know if she'll get it done, and this fight doesn't have a whole lot of heat on it, but I'm going to go and take Rocky to get it done, and finally, after a decade in the UFC, finally become champion. So, and we'll see what happens from there, man. It seems like Juliana Pena is going to get the next title shot. Whether or not you like Juliana Pena or you hate her, I think at the very least she tries to build fights and tries to get people more intrigued by him. So at the very least, that's something. But yeah, you and I split on the first 2 fights. How about that? And we're going to go ahead and move on down. I don't think we're going to do split on this one. Canada's Mike Malott seems to be the real deal, Holyfield. 32 years young, 10-1-1, has been dominant in his UFC career thus far, taking on Neil Magny. Neil Magny, we know the story here, a longtime veteran, the Haitian sensation, a future UFC Hall of Famer, the most wins in welterweight history, holds a shit ton of those volume stats. He is old now, though, unfortunately. 36 years old, coming off of a brutal, brutal loss at the hands of Ian Machado Gary in August, where he just got, that was one of the most lopsided fights in UFC history. Back facing another prospect. Who you got here, man? Mike Malott or Neil Magny? And you are on mute, in case you did not know.
I mean, we see this setup, Josh. We see what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They want Mike Malott to win here. They want him to take out this established vet in Neil Magny and in Canada. Like, what else could you want, right? Like, you have to capitalize on this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and they put him on the main card. Like, they put him on the main card in a big position because they know fully well that that's exactly, they know what's going to happen here. So, anyways, man, I think Mike Malott is going to get the win here. I mean, could Neil Magny pose some issues, especially in the grappling department potentially? That is possible. At the same time, though, man, I mean, I think this is going to be a statement performance by Mike Malott. He's at 32. He's at that point now where if he's going to go and make a run at it, he's got to go. And I think he's going to on Saturday and beat an all-time, a long-time veteran, in the form of Neil Magny. There's a couple of Canadians littered throughout this one. Another one in the next fight, coming out of Quebec. We got Marc-Andre Barriault riding a 2-fight winning streak. Long-time veteran, but he seems to finally have found his right, finally have gotten on the right track, taking on the action man, Chris Curtis, one of the most entertaining guys in the UFC. I feel pretty confident saying that. He has not had a fight since he's joined in 2021. That has not been super fucking exciting. He is riding a 2-fight not losing streak, but I guess, he's got no wins in his last 2. No contest with Nasruddin Imavov and a decision loss to Kelvin Gastelum, although that fight was pretty close. Who do you got in this one up at middleweight?
Look, I need to say this right now because I think a lot of people are probably going to go Chris Curtis, but I do think Marc-Andre Barriault has a path to victory here against Chris Curtis. I do not want to write off the Canadian. The guy's a dog. He has power. He's capable of finishing fights. But look, I still think Chris Curtis is going to get it done, though. I think he's still going to be able to get a decision here. I don't think he'll finish Marc-Andre Barriault. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it'll end up happening, especially not in Canada,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've actually gone back and forth on this one a lot. Marc-Andre Barriault is not a guy that I think is very interesting to watch. I don't think he's particularly good. I don't think he'll win the title. I don't even think he'll be ranked. But at the end of the day, he's a tricky style for whatever reason for a lot of guys. And I think he fights, he brings guys down to his own pace. He's very hard. You never really see anybody dominate him. You know what I mean? There's never too many times you see Marc-Andre Barriault facing somebody, whether it be, fucking Julian Marquez or fucking Eric Anders, whoever it may be. He never looks out of his element. You know what I mean? Since he came to the UFC, when he had a bunch of really terrible fights, he, lost 4 fights in a row that he didn't win. He seems to have put it together. That being said, I'm still going to go with the action, man. I'm biased. I love the guy. So I'm going to go and take Chris Curtis, man. Very, very biased, though, I have to admit. It's a very biased pick. I think Marc-Andre Barriault, if I'm picking with my brain, not my heart, probably wins this fight, especially in Canada. But regardless. I'm just being honest, bro. I love Curtis. And part of the reason, too, is Chris Curtis, man, he just wins fights he's not supposed to. So that's a big part of it, too. Like that Brendan Allen win, just aging phenomenally. You know what I mean? And he has a couple of those. So we'll see. Opening up the main card is a featherweight banger. In my opinion, beyond the main event, this is the fight I'm most excited for. Arnold Allen, we last saw him in Kansas City, dropping a close decision loss to Max Holloway, 19-2, taking on the undefeated Movsar Evloev, 17-0, last defeated our boy Diego Lopez in May in the fight of the night at UFC 288. This is by far the biggest test of his career, though. I mean, he's 17-0, but beyond, he's beat, what's his biggest win outside of that? Dan Ige, so this is a big opportunity for him to prove himself as well. Who do you got in this one?
Look, Josh, for me, I think this is Movsar Evloev's coming out party. To be in Canada, I think he's going to get a statement win. Dude, I've been talking about this guy for a while now, off and on to you. I will never forget, dude, back in 2019, right as we were starting the podcast, and even in 2020, I saw so many M1 highlight videos from Movsar. I think he's going to do it. I feel bad for Arnold Allen because I think he's going to get set back again on this one. Because look, that Max Holloway fight was going to be the one to set him right there for the title shot. Ended up setting him back a little bit because they still gave him, Movsar is not that far of a setback. But if he loses, he's going to be in a tough spot. For Movsar, though, I think finally he will get his moment. 7 fights deep at UFC, 7 fights undefeated. Granted, though, I will say he's having the Arnold Allen issue. No finishes. And we remember at one point in time that was an issue with Arnold Allen. He had no finishes in the UFC outside of Well, there was two, but he was having for a while there. He was having a conversation with his decision after decision after decision. Finally, got one against Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker going down to 145 was obviously not a good choice. And the Calvin Kattar injury was kind of a setback too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough, man. I mean, this really can be his coming out party. Like I said, he's undefeated. He seems to have a big name. It seems like everybody's kind of in agreement that, like, okay, this guy, he's the future, you know? But I don't know, man. I don't know. There's something about my dumb primate brain that's just gonna make me pick Arnold Allen this weekend, man. I don't know why. I'm gonna take Arnold Allen, man, for the upset. I think he's much better than people are giving him a shot in this fight. I mean, I can pull up the betting odds right now, but last time I saw, he was a pretty big underdog, man.
How do you think these fight odds should be near even though? I think this is a hard fight. It's a hard fight.
Yeah. So
it's gonna prove. I think, in my opinion, and I'm cutting you off here. You're good. Yeah. As far as like quality of fighter and like complexity of fight and strategy and all that, I think Sean Strickland, Dricus, and Plessis, Arnold Allen, those are like top two by far.
I couldn't agree more. According to BetMGM, not sponsored, just giving the line.
God damn it, Josh! You didn't have to say a name.
I know, but I just want people to know where it's coming from. You know, Arnold Allen.
They want to bet, right? That's good.
Yeah, Arnold Allen is a plus 160. Mosfar is a minus 190, so almost a 2-1 favorite. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go and take Arnold Allen, man. I think
on different odds, by the way. I saw him plus 135 Arnold and then minus 165 Mosar. Which I mean, it's
getting tighter then.
Yeah.
Okay, well that makes more sense then. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Arnold Allen, he's just a clinical striker on the feet, man. I think he's going to find the opening. I don't think he'll get a finish, but I think he will go ahead and get a decision win. I haven't been that impressed with him thus far. I have to be honest. And a bit of it's probably just the competition, right? But I don't know, man. There's just something about Arnold Allen, man. Ever since his, fight, even way back in the day when he fought I want to say like fucking Mads Burnell, I've been impressed with him, man. So he's the real deal, and I'm gonna go ahead and take Arnold Allen to get the upset win on Saturday. But like you said, this fight should be damn near even, man. I mean, Mosfar is undefeated for a reason. He seems to be the future. Just hasn't faced a guy of the level of Arnold Allen. Very excited to see it though. In terms of UFC 297, this card. The prelims, they're okay. What fights do you most want to talk about from the prelims?
Dude, you gotta talk about Charles Air Jordan! Jordan!
Exactly, dude. Yeah, I mean, Charles Jordan, reminds me of, what's his name, from Frenchie from The Boys.
Dude,
you guys have seen The Boys?
Yes.
Looks like a fucking stunt double, doesn't he?
Throw him in. Dude, this guy's 28.
I mean, he's been around, like, longer than people expect. Not expect, but remember.
By the way, I'm so happy we are not predicting this fight. Just Sean Woodson is game as fuck.
Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah, fuck that.
It's a hard fight to predict.
It really is, dude. Sean Woodson. Because I think, like, man, Sean Woodson, maybe he hasn't really beaten too many great guys, but just the fact that he's a fucking 6'2" featherweight with a fucking 80-inch reach, like that gives him a shot against anybody,
I will say he should have lost to Luis Saldana, but Luis Saldana fucked up with the illegal strike.
Yeah. Yeah, he did, man. Gonna be an interesting fight. Should be a banger. That one is absolutely in the running for fight of the night. That's what I expect to probably win fight of the night, potentially.
I agree.
I'm really excited for the return of Brad Katona, man. I'm really excited to see him back. I mean, 13-2. I thought it was bullshit that he got cut back in the day, back in 2019, after going 2-2. And those two, I mean, Marab Dwalishvili and Hunter Azure, dude. You could do a lot worse than losing those fucking guys, man. So, I'm happy that he's back taking on Garrett Armfield. I think that's a good matchup for Brad Katona, too. Sergey Saidi taking on Roman Tavares. These two fought like 6 months ago in the Contender Series. I believe Sahi missed weight for that one, and they were just like, fuck it, we're just going to run it back, man. Should be fun. I think
there were some other issues there. I think there were some issues with the stoppage.
It could be that, yeah. Because, definitely odd they booked him this quickly, though, nonetheless. But anyways, I mean, excited to see Jillian Robertson back, the Savage, Canada's finest, coming back. Excited to see her taking on Poliana Viana. And then in terms of the prelims, man, I mean, Jasmine Jasdavicius, a prospect down at women's flyweight, another young prospect. I mean, she's not that young. She's like 32, I want to say. But taking on Priscilla Cachoeira, Zombie Girl, should be a fun one. Yeah, man. And then Malcolm Gordon, Jimmy Fleck, a banger down at flyweight. Just a couple other fights to highlight, man. Any closing thoughts before we go and move on?
No, man, I'm excited. I am sad this fight did lose Carlos Olberg versus Dom Reyes. I think this would be a big time fight for Olberg. Also a big opportunity for Reyes as well. But I know that we'll reschedule it, so I'm not worried. But definitely disappointed to miss out on that. We also lost Blachowicz, dude. This is supposed to have Blachowicz Rockets on it too.
Mm-hmm, correct. This card took a lot of big hits. I'm unlike you. I don't care that we lost Dom Reyes. Carlos Olberg. I'm actually really happy that fight got canceled. I hope they cancel it again. Because goddamn, I want Dom Reyes. Just let him fight me at this point. Give him an easy one, Jesus Christ.
How much would you need to fight Dom Reyes?
The number is lower than you'd think. It's like I'd probably fight Dom. What do they start at 10-10?
Yeah.
Fuck it, dude. I'll take it.
Fight Dom grand. To get knocked out by Dom Reyes? Because, I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'll get knocked out by... Dude, I'm going in there and I'm tapping the mat instantly. I'm fucking... Fight starts, I'm instantly curling down the ball and just fucking tapping, bro. Like, it's over. But, anyways, that's all I gotta say, man. This card should be a fun one. Excited to see it. Yeah, man. That being said, we do have more news to go over, including the announcement... Angel, we've been talking about it for a while. We'll lead off with this. The PFL and Bellator, PFL versus Bellator champs, is going down February 24th from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Dude, this card is an absolute banger. I gotta give props where it's due. Henan Ferreira taking on Ryan Bader. Impa Kasinge taking on Johnny Ebland. Jesus Pinedo taking on Patricio Pitbull. Magomed Kermal taking on Jason Jackson. Bruno Capoloza taking on Vadim Nemkov. No longer the Bellator light heavyweight champion. He vacated the title. Thiago Santos taking on Yoel Romero. Clay Collard, AJ McKee. Guys like Aaron Pico on it. Biagio Ali Walsh on it. Callisto Shields on it as well. There's going to be a $50 pay-per-view event going down on the 24th. What do you make of it, man? It's going down the same day of UFC Mexico. Is this a pay-per-view caliber card in your opinion?
If we're being honest, Josh, let's be honest with ourselves. If you took PFL and Bellator and made it UFC, I think that is worth your money.
Yeah.
It's the only reason people won't value it at that is because it's PFL x Bellator, or now PFL, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it is a pay-per-view quality card. I'm gonna be honest. But the issue is the promoter hasn't reached that level which people are gonna probably be willing to pay that price.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I will give them credit. It is cheaper than a UFC pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's part of the reason why, like, I give it more of a break. Yeah, man. I think I'm somewhere in the middle on this, right? Like, I think this is an excellent card. I also don't think they should put it on pay-per-view at all. I understand why they will. And they probably want to return on their investment in pay-per-view. Like, pay-per-view, even if you fail, even if they only get like 100,000 buys, which from my understanding is like the break even. But you don't have to do crazy numbers, and it's still more profitable than just streaming on ESPN or whatever. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, this is an excellent card. If, like you said, if you took PFL and Bellator, put them together, this is the card that you're going to get, man. It does not get much better than this. Granted, we're not getting names like Francis Ngannou. We're not getting Jake Paul. We're not getting some of these other big names that we've heard of that are going to fight for the PFL. Apparently that's going to happen in November. That's their second pay-per-view card slated for this year. And that's when you'll see, I guess, guys like Ngannou and Paul fighting. So that should be fun. But, yeah, look, this card is excellent in my opinion. A lot of these matchups, like, I understand, like, people were, like, joking, like, oh, fuck, Ryan Bader in the main event, blah, blah, you know, but, like, Ryan Bader, Renan Ferreira is a fucking banger fight, man. Problema is a fucking problem. I mean, it's its name, for God's sakes, man. I mean, he's a 6'8" heavyweight with fucking insane power. So, excited to see that one, man. I think, dude, Aaron Pico versus Gabriel Braga, fuck off, you know? Like, that's straight up violence, my man. So yeah, very excited to see that one. And then just the entire card. I mean, Thiago Santos, Yoel Romero, those two are gonna stare at each other for like 14 minutes. But that last minute is gonna be electric, you know? Like, anyways, man, that's all I got on this one. Should be a banger of a card. Excited to see it. And I'm kind of gonna move around our list right now. This fight card is going down on February 24th. A week after this was supposed to be the UFC's trip to Saudi Arabia. However, that card has actually been moved. Saudi Arabia reportedly said, hey, if you're coming here, you need to have a better fucking card than that. So the UFC's card will now be going down in March. Not March. It will be moved from March to June in Saudi Arabia. What do you make about that news, Angel?
I'm surprised. They said that, yeah, you said it, they weren't satisfied.
Yeah. And that card, I believe, does not have a main event right now. But of what has been reported, the fights reported for that one, Muhammad Makai versus Alex Perez, Eric Andrews versus Jamie Pickett, Ludwig Klein versus Joel Alvarez, Rarzino Rosenstrike versus Shamil Gazayev, and a couple other ones as well, but no big names. So the Saudi...
What did you say got moved to again?
Vegas. It's in Apex.
Oh, okay.
You know, which is, you know, disappointing. So... You know, I would have preferred Saudi Arabia. They don't have a whole lot of life in their fight cards either. You thought it was fucking Jamal Khashoggi out there, but yeah, there's no life in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, there's even less in Las Vegas at the Apex. But yeah, man, just definitely interesting to have these two fight cards. The PFL literally announced their card the same day that the UFC moved their Saudi Arabia card. So pretty interesting. Nonetheless, man, we do have some good UFC news. It is that Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje and Jim Miller versus Bobby Green have been added to UFC 300 in April. We've been waiting for some big matchups, been waiting for some big fight announcements. We finally fucking got them, dude. What do you make about these two fights?
Yes.
Yeah. So I take it you're a pretty big fan.
Oh, dude, yeah, this is a massive W. Like, if fucking the UFC had to whip out their cock and put it on the table, they finally did it.
Yeah, for real. They took out their balls, just sat them right on the table. You know,
they really did. Like, I know we're using that figure of speech, but this is no exaggeration. Like, this fight is huge, dude. And please make a clip out of this. But this Justin Gaethje Max Holloway fight is big for both these guys. Because for Max, it's like he gets the opportunity to kind of throw himself right potentially into the 155 picture, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right there for the title potentially too. At the same time, though, this fight does worry me because Justin Gaethje is the man across from him. You know, we saw Justin break one man before in Tony Ferguson, a long-time vet. Who knows? Maybe he could do that again to Max Holloway, a long-time vet as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, honestly, without getting a lot into the fight specifics. And I mean, look, for Max, I mean, he's fought a lot of these guys, man. Even some of these guys are now 155ers. You know, Connor, Dustin, now Justin. I mean, holy fuck! Like, this shit is awesome. And for Justin, another potentially another name, you know, in his cap.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's you know, Justin said he didn't want this fight at first, and I really didn't think the UFC were going to book it. But like, it's kind of a win-win for everybody involved, dude. I mean, Justin gets another Hall of Famer on his resume. He adds to the case for a title shot, because let's be honest here, I know he wants a title shot after every win, but it's just not going to happen, man. It's just not. And it shouldn't happen, to be clear. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm very excited for this fight, and if he does win, yeah, give him a title shot. I mean, at that point, I'd have no issues. I mean, Fiziev, Poirier, you know, Holloway, you could do a lot worse than that, man. So yeah, I mean, banger of a fight. And by the way, I'm already seeing it. Will Max Holloway potentially lose this fight? Yeah. Do I think he'll lose this fight? I'd actually probably pick Justin Gaethje, even though I'm a big Max fan. people are using the clips of like that Dustin Poirier fight when I know they didn't fucking watch it, you know? Like they're like, oh, dude, last time Max fought at lightweight, he got destroyed by Dustin Poirier. It's like, man, that fight was a competitive 48-47 when some people thought Max won. So it's like a lot of people have just seen fucking clips of that fight on Twitter and they haven't actually watched the thing. Max at 155 is a real dog and still has a lot of the great attributes that make him great at 145. So very excited to see it. And obviously we already talked about Jim Miller, Bobby Green briefly. It's the right fight for both guys. But yeah, man, very excited to see it. And man, if Max Holloway can beat Justin Gaethje, like you said, he's right there at 155, man. And for a guy that's had a bunch of issues because he's locked out of the title picture at 145, this is the fight he needed. And he gets the BMF title. So that's it's a fun consolation prize too. But yeah, man, this is actually going to be the last bit of the news unless you have anything to add, man. Fighter retirements in MMA, they're just not a real thing. Mark Hunt, the Super Samoan Mark Hunt, retired following a knockout win in the boxing ring, handed Sonny Bill Williams his first career loss in the boxing ring, actually. He retired. Over a year later, he's back. He said he wants to fight. Not only does he want to fight in BKFC. So, Angel, as a longtime fan of Mark Hunt, give me your thoughts. You want to see him return to fighting, and what do you think about a potential return to BKFC?
God, no. I love me Mark Hunt, man, but I don't think it's a good idea. But if he wants to do it, man, hey, he's his own man. He do whatever he wants. But let me say, Josh, if these retirements aren't real, like why the fuck is the main of UFC 300 now Brock Lesnar versus Fedor Emelianenko?
The last emperor never die. You know?
Oh! Oh!
Oh man.
Imagine if somehow they made that for 300.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I don't think Brock's gonna be added. I was on that.
By the way, would you pay out of pocket for that? Would you, if Brock and Fedor got announced as the main event, would you watch that?
Fuck yeah. What do you mean? I fucking
like would
dude,
would you pay for that?
Dude,
would you pay for that? That's really what I'm saying. Would you pay for it? Would you finally pay for it?
Yeah, I'll pay for it.
Instead of going to your Buffalo Wild Wings, you would pay for it finally.
I would pay for it. I would pay for it instead of going to my local Buffalo Wild Wings. I would. I paid for UFC 200 whenever he fought. I bought that card. So, no, granted, that was, $50 less, back in 2016. So, definitely, I remember they sold that shit. They sold standard definition for like $49.99 and high def for $55. Could you imagine? Could you imagine having that today?
God, we wish, dude. Splitting the card 25-25.
Oh my God, crazy. Well, but then how will Dana afford another yacht if we don't tack on another $40?
Well, that's why he needs to make Fedor versus Brock Lesnar, Josh.
Exactly. You're right. I mean, jokes aside, I really did think that Brock was going to come back. I really did. I thought, the timing worked out perfectly. He had an open schedule, no big attraction, and he still might. Who knows? I mean, I wonder if they attempted it all. That's something, I doubt we'll ever know, but I hope someone asked Dana at the press conference, Dana, who were other matchups you looked for? Like, I really hope someone asked a question along the lines of that. Like, Who else were you guys looking at? Was Brock ever really an option? Because I genuinely want to know. I need to know if the 9-time WWE Heavyweight Champion, 3-time WWE Universal Champion was going to be the 2-time Royal Rumble winner. I gotta know. Well, I mean, that's the problem. Is apparently they actually offered him a fight. They offered him Jim Miller, and he said no. So I mean, yeah. I would love to see that. I'd love to know that if they actually did reach out to him or Ronda or fucking whoever it may be, because it looks like we're not going to get a big name. Now that's what everybody said. Everybody was worried that they're not going to get the big attraction. It seems like that's going to be the case. It looks like this Holloway Gaethje fight is going to be the big attraction fight, So.
And the crazy thing is, they're not even going to be the main event because Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad's still not announced.
That's correct. They have not announced that fight, and we'll see. Man, if they really do run with Leon Bilal, holy shit, though! Oh my god.
I mean, the card as a whole is still very good, so I don't think that'll be the downfall.
I agree with you.
Unless, I mean, but it'd be so fucked up because do you think there's a world where they put Max just in main event and then those guys as co-main, I don't think you can do that.
I think it's possible. I don't think they would, but like, I mean, they have bigger names do non-title stuff over, like they've had Conor do it, you know, and they did have Brock do it. Brock didn't main event UFC 200, but he was still above, who was it? I guess DC Silva wasn't a title fight, but he was still above Aldo Edgar too.
Oh.
So they've done some weird shit like that before. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do it again. And plus, like, Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, they have the BMF title on the line. They've shown that they'll treat that like an actual thing. So it wouldn't be that weird to me, but it'd still be kind of disrespectful, you know. But also, they don't really give a shit about actual champions or anything like that. So who knows?
I mean, maybe they'll do it. Who knows? I'm curious to see what the fight order is on the night of, or weeks out, I guess, really, or months out, or whatever. We'll finally know. Yeah,
and we're really close too, man. I mean, we're less than 3 months away. So, yeah, man, excited to see it go down. Any closing thoughts on this subject or anything else you want to add before we go ahead and head out?
Nah, man. Like I say every week, I'm just excited to come back next week, talk about the fights, preview the next card, review the previous card, and obviously see you this weekend, man. It's always fun watching fights with you. Live and all the boys. I think, I mean, honestly, it's the best time of the year. Every pay-per-view is an absolute blast. And this, honestly, the start of this year for us is going to be fucking amazing because of the quality of fights we'll be getting.
100%, dude. 100%. It's only, like, last year, we talked about this a little bit in the green room. Last year was a rough one. You know, this is a rough card. Not a rough card, but kind of a rough start to the year, you know. But not this time around, man. Not this time around. Like, we went through, like, every other pay-per-view card. If it wasn't a pay-per-view, it was an Apex card. And a lot of those cards, even some of those pay-per-views last year were rough. But, look, man, we're starting it off strong with 297, that main event. Even if you don't like the rest of the card, there's a lot of other good fights. 298, incredible. 299, incredible. Then UFC 300 in April. And happy to have you guys along with us for the ride, man. 1,300 subscribers. Let's see if we can finish the month with fucking 1,400. Sure we won't, but, you know, hey, dare to dream, you know. Hopefully, you know, we'll keep on rising and hope you guys stick along with us, man. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel Ortega _01 at Courtside Sound for all things relating to the show. Peace and butt grease. Mouse click.